Welcome to the AFC South Pitstop. Yes, I do, time to time jump in here and do a few shows, commercial free, of course. I call them the AFC South Pitstop, where I go around the AFC South and talk about a few things that may have either happened or could potentially be happening or an issue going on that I just want to speak my mind about in the AFC South. Of course, this episode, we're going to be talking about free agency. I mean, a lot of different moves were made on the big day. Of course, free agency, everybody getting the bag and stuff like that. Yeah, it's cool. But the team is made with the smaller moves, ancillary moves as well. Not just the big moves to make things happen. I mean, if anything, last year when the Titans spent a ton of money in all season, it showed you that not only the big time moves, but the ancillary moves count as well. I'm going to start the show off actually talking about the Titans, and they made a few other moves, of course, outside of their big splash, with Dan Moore Jr. as well. One of those moves is signing Draymond Jones. Yes, the big man from Seattle is coming to Tennessee. 1 year, $10 million deal. A little bit of concern. He is athletic. He does, definitely is an imposing figure. I mean, 6'3", 281. That's pretty daggone imposing. However, what I will say is that he hasn't had a season over 7 sacks. And you pay him 1 year, $10 million. So, maybe there's some potential there. He's going to be kind of an edge or outside linebacker slash, defensive end because, of course, the Titans run a 3-4. So it'll just be interesting. Definitely trying to get stronger and bigger in the trenches. He's definitely a bigger guy than Harold Landry in terms of weight wise. I'm interested to see, what he can produce when it comes to, getting to the quarterback. Because Harold Landry, I would say that he has less numbers than Harold Landry. Now, it's not to say he can't produce and be better. We'll see. Only time will tell, and he's only on a 1 year deal, so it could be just this year and gone. But we'll see what happens when it comes to Draymond Jones. Definitely going to be interesting to see. Of course, the next move I want to talk about is the move for Kenneth Murray to be moved out of town for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, he's only here 1 year. He signed a 2 year deal last offseason in the myriad of moves that the Titans made, spending over almost $250 million in the all season in terms of contracts. Not 250, but I digress. With Kenneth Murray being gone, it kind of was like, at first you thought, him and Cody Barton, who was the new signing at linebacker for the Tennessee Titans from the Denver Broncos, you thought they may play side to side, but the Titans decided to part ways. But they did get a parting gift with trading him. They did send a 7th round pick with him. That was, I believe, let me look, the 38th pick, somewhere around there. They got a 6th round pick. So they move up 50 spots getting the trade with the Cowboys. And they also got $7.5 million in cap space in getting Kenneth Murray traded. I wish Kenneth Murray well. Definitely he was, definitely a physical guy, athletic guy, could run, do a lot of different things. But the Titans' run defense at times had leaks in it. And, the linebackers are supposed to clean that up. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Of course, safeties are too, but, that's another story for another episode. But wasn't there to clean it up. And just, in pass coverage, when he had to cover people, it wasn't necessarily the prettiest thing. I wish him well on his journey, but, his journey came to an end in one season with the Tennessee Titans as they trade him again to the Cowboys for a 6th round pick. So, Brinker and Borgazzi definitely trying to do their magic, get more picks in the draft, so that way they can replenish this roster and kind of stay true to who they are, which are draft people, and they draft and grow and things like that, kind of like the Green Bay Packers way, if you say. I do have a couple comments in the touring the AFC South inbox. Let's take a look. Let's see. Sarah Small says she is happy. I'm happy with the Colts moves. Well, talked about those the other day on the previous episode, but I do have one other move to talk about with the Colts on this episode. And yeah, taking a look at what's going on. That would be Mr. Corey Jackson Sr. stepping in the building. And if you're watching, you know what those emojis are. That means a Mr. Cam Ward, and he believes it's Cam Ward's season when it comes to the Tennessee Titans and this season coming up. And of course, Jones, Draymond Jones definitely is a grown man. Now, can he be a grown man sacking the quarterback and be the edge rusher that the Titans need? We shall see. Or do they go to the draft and get somebody that slides that maybe have that potential to be a dominant pass rusher? We'll see what happens, but we're going to keep going on. The Titans weren't done making moves and adding to this team. They added more to their offensive line with Kevin Zeitler. Now, for those that aren't aware who he is, he's a 35-year-old offensive lineman that played for the Detroit Lions last year. Yes, he was a part of that Detroit line that was throwing people out of the bar and clearing the way for Sonic and Knuckles back there in the backfield. And he comes to Tennessee now to add to this offensive line, which, of course, I mentioned Dan Moore Jr. added to the line. Going to move him to left tackle. I'm going to play him at left tackle, move J.C. Latham to right tackle. You got Skoronski at the guard. You got Lloyd Cushenberry at center. Just needed a guard to kind of round that thing out, and Zeitler is just that guy. I know some would think about his age being 35 when the season starts. He's only missed 17 games. He's only missed 12 games in his career. 12. So he's definitely very durable. He's a guy that is, can get nasty in the trenches, and he's exactly what the Titans need in the trenches to kind of get this thing going, where they can get the run game going, pass game going, and protect whoever is at quarterback, whether it's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Will Levis, whoever it may be. Yeah, I know I'm playing that card of, not knowing who they're going to draft or who they may draft. I'm just throwing all those names out there. It's fun, ain't it? But anyway, as far as Zeitler, his signing to me spells the end or any hope that Dylan Radins would have came back to this team. I don't think he comes back. I think he goes somewhere else in free agency. But definitely an upgrade over Dylan Radins and what all he could do as well. We're going to switch over to another player that was added to the Tennessee Titans. That would be Van Jefferson. Now, Van Jefferson, for those that don't know, he played high school football in the state of Tennessee for the Ravenwood. What's Ravenwood's mascot? Can't remember. But anyway, Ravenwood High School. It's just a little bit outside of Nashville in the Brentwood, Franklin area. So he kind of comes back home in a sense. His dad actually was the wide receivers coach for the Tennessee Titans at one point when he was here. And of course, that's Sean Jefferson. So, Van Jefferson comes to town after playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers last season. Definitely an interesting signing. In losing Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, you had to find someone else at the receiver spot to kind of add to this rotation. Van Jefferson has had some splash plays, especially playing with the Los Angeles Rams in the beginning of his career. However, he went to the Falcons, then he went to the Steelers, and now he's here in Nashville. But it's going to be interesting just to see. I don't think he's necessarily a guy that just pops out there. I think he's at best a number 3 wide receiver. With Calvin Ridley there, you don't really have someone to kind of pair with him to kind of, do all the other things on the field. You thought you may have had that with DeAndre Hopkins last season, or, maybe Treylon Burks if he stayed healthy, but it just did not work out. And Calvin Ridley was out there, and you had other different pieces like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine with 9 touchdown passes as well. But it is what it is, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine not here, and Van Jefferson is here. But you do have to ask some questions about the receiving core. You look at the receiving core. I'm just going to run down these players, real quick. You've got a wide receiver core of Calvin Ridley, of course. You've got Van Jefferson. You got Bryce Oliver, who has shown, potential at times and splashed on the scene at times. So it'll be interesting to see his development in his second year as well. He's very, very talented, very physically gifted. So we'll see what happens. You have Colton Dowell. Didn't play any last year. Former UT Martin Skyhawk, which I am a former UT Martin Skyhawk. So, hey, I'm always rooting for the Skyhawk. But, hey, He wasn't on the field last year, so we'll see what happens going into year 3 and if he makes a team, depending upon if they add anybody in the wide receiver in the draft. Yeah, Traylon Burks, of course, everyone knows, hasn't stayed healthy, shown flashes at times, but been more healthy than on the field, been more injured, I should say, than on the field. So, that is what it is. Of course, you got Mason Kinsey there. He's kind of been on again, off again on the roster. And then you have Tay Martin. For those that don't remember who that is, his first touchdown and his first catch was a touchdown pass. It looked like it was supposed to go to Bryce Oliver. And after the game, he talked about, he really didn't quite know everything at that point since he got brought in late in the process. But hey, he ran the route and he kind of took the catch from Bryce Oliver. Cutting across. They both ran post routes, and it's amazing they didn't hit each other. But Tay Martin caught the pass, ran the end zone, his first catch ever made in the NFL, touchdown pass, and along with it that. And of course, I didn't even mention Jaquan Jackson, the 6th-round pick out of Tulane, the 2024 pick, which, after his fumble issues, he kind of got relegated to not really even being active. So, definitely a big mountain for him to climb this offseason as well if he's going to get in that rotation. So, looking at that rotation of wide receivers, Van Jefferson has to play better. He's going to get opportunities, I believe. It's going to just be interesting to see how much he pops off the screen, being that he really hasn't been a guy that's been above maybe a number 3 wide receiver at best. So, it's just going to be interesting to watch and see what happens. Okay. Now, I know majority of this episode has been talking about the Tennessee Titans, but hey, they made the most of the smaller moves after the big signing. So I got to talk about something, and they just happen to have more moves. But of course, I do have to talk about the Colts. They did make a move as well. They signed running back Khalil Herbert. Now, for those that don't remember, he used to be the backup running back in Chicago for the Chicago Bears. Got traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. Didn't really fare too well. Was kind of, I thought he might be a little better. Didn't really get as many opportunities and carries. Now he's going to a place in Indianapolis where he's the backup to Jonathan Taylor. Now, he is a big physical guy that can run. You give him a certain amount of carries, he can make some things happen. I'm not necessarily sure about his hands when it comes to receiving out of the backfield, but the Colts really don't ask don't ask running backs to be, definitely receivers out of the backfield. So, they really don't ask that very much. So I really wouldn't be too concerned about that. It just gives them a solid veteran backup for Jonathan Taylor in case he does get injured, which, in the last couple of years, he has got injured a little bit. So you could throw Khalil Herbert in there, a guy who has spot started for the Chicago Bears at some points. So, definitely a solid backup for them. Yeah, if I can throw Khalil Herbert's information on the screen. Yeah, but definitely Khalil Herbert is a solid backup signing for the Indianapolis Colts. Gives them a little bit more depth at running back. And also, would it surprise me if they draft another running back? No, that would not surprise me at all. Maybe they go with the guys they were rolling with last year as their backups. We'll see what happens, but hey, we know Jonathan Taylor is the main guy when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. And lastly, don't want to leave the Houston Texans out. They did trade for another offensive lineman. They traded for offensive lineman Ed Ingram from the Minnesota Vikings for a 2026 6th-round pick. Now, if you have been watching the Houston Texans this offseason, they have traded away Kenyon Green, who was a guard. They traded away Laramie Tunzel, who was their tackle. They were missing some pieces. They needed some pieces in there. And of course, that offensive line wasn't very good last season. CJ Stroud was running for his life a lot. Now, that wasn't the only reason he was throwing interceptions, but it didn't help. But in training for Ed Ingram, you got a guy that actually was a 2022 2nd-round pick. He actually started with 32 games in his first 2 seasons, including 17 as a rookie. Kind of fell off a little bit there. They get him for a 2026 6th-round pick. It's just going to be interesting just to see what he's able to do there. If all else, he'll be a depth piece there, but I think they're looking for him to kind of maybe step in and potentially be a starter for them because they need it. They just do. Who else do they have at guard right now? Looking at them, they need bodies, pieces in their trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah, just wanted to stop through real quick, give you all a little bit of information about what's going on in the AFC South, who all signed, smaller signing, bigger signings, all those different things. I did see the long snapper from the Houston Texans did sign with the San Francisco 49ers, and they gave him kind of a little bit of a tribute on social media, by the way. If you looking around, check that out if you're on X or Instagram, you'll see it. But definitely was another eventful day, I would say, for the AFC South. And we'll see if these pieces actually add up to any great things for the division or for those teams that added these pieces. Thank you all for tuning in to the AFC South Pit Stop. Of course, this is like kind of a little branch of touring the AFC South, which normally I usually just put this on YouTube and exclusively there. But since back on Facebook just a little bit, I figured I would show this show on Facebook as well. I thank you all for tuning in. Of course, my name is Mike Patton. I'm the host of Touring the AFC South. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. I'm sorry. You can find me also on Blue Sky as well. And of course, you can find Touring the AFC South on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. Of course, the pit stops, you can only find them on YouTube. You found it on Facebook for today, but this is going to be exclusively on YouTube. The pit stops will be. Of course, you can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA and the THE _general_MP. I thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the AFC South Pit Stop. Again, if you're not following me on YouTube, the AFC South Pit Stops will be exclusively on YouTube. They will not be shown on Facebook anymore. This is just for tonight. I did that. But, of course, go over there to the Mike Patton Network or look up Touring the AFC South. Go ahead, click the bell, subscribe so you don't miss any episodes when they drop. You never know who's going to stop through, and I especially will be having some people stop through pretty soon. But you got to tune in to see. All right. I thank you all for tuning in to this pit stop. We're out. Peace.